Okay, so I just went to Google Docs, which there's different ways you can get there. One way I like to do it is by going to this 3x3 square, and I click on it, and I can see all the different apps, Google apps that I have connected to my account. So I just click Google Docs, and that's just an easy way that I like to get to Google Docs. Um, so there's different templates that you can use when starting a new document. There's essay, report, book report, class notes, and a lot more. But for this purpose, we're just going to create a blank document. Okay. Oh boy. Okay, so I was actually messing around with this yesterday, and I accidentally set my default settings to look like this. And if I'm totally honest, I have no idea how to change it back. Ollie?
Go
So
to File.
Okay.
Um,
file, and then you should be able to click page setup.
yeah, there you go.
Okay, just set it back to normal.
There you go.
Okay.
And don't change the margins.
Don't change them.
Do not change them. Just hit set as default.
No, because that sets what you have entered in. Okay, well.
No, it goes back to normal. There
Okay.
you go.
Don't worry. There you go.
Okay, now the margin's messed up. Okay, we'll just pretend like it's not messed up. Okay. All right. So, all right. Now let's name the document. So every document starts off titled as untitled document. Um, it will ask you if you want to share it with someone or do something like that. It will ask you to name it. So I'm just going to name it Cyber Seniors Google Docs. Okay. So now it will be saved as this title. Okay. So next to the title, you can see this little star. And what this does is it puts it in a star folder. And so you can see it. So it doesn't show you anything right now, but you can star it and see it later in your Google Docs or Google Drive. And then next to the star, you'll see this move icon. And this will open up a little pop-up where you can choose where you want, like what drive you want the Google Doc to be in. For this case, I'm just going to leave it in my regular drive. All right, so now let's start typing into here. I'm just going to take the same title that I used and put it right here. Okay, so in this toolbar up here, there's a lot of different functionality that we can use to edit how our text looks. So in order to do that, you're going to need to highlight the text you've already written, or if you want to use a format and write with it, you can select what you want and say like hello, and then it will be in that formatting. So let's go back. All right, so let's say we want to select a different font. So that's where you can go up here and you can see it's always set to be Arial. But to change that, you just click on it wherever the arrow works, anything. And you can scroll down to see all these different fonts and click on whichever one you want. If there's a font like that you're looking for and you just can't find it in here, you can also go to the top of this pop-out and it'll say more fonts. And then you'll be brought here where you can see the fonts that you already have in where we just were. They have a blue check mark next to them. The ones that aren't in there don't. So you can see that there's all these different ones. So let's say I like, I don't know, Carla. Oh, there you go. So I'm just going to hit this OK. And then it'll automatically change the text font to Carla. Now let's say we want to change Cyber Seniors into a different color. So then if you want to change the color of the actual text, not the background color, you would look for this A, and if you hover over it, it will say text color. So in case you ever forget what some of these icons do, you can always hover over them and it will tell you what it does. So I'm going to click on it and then choose whichever color I want to do. So I'm just going to do a dark blue so that's easy to see. Now let's say I want to highlight Google Docs in black. What I'm going to do is click on the highlighting icon next to it and make sure I have the text that I want to be highlighted. So I'm going to click the highlight icon and select what color I want to be highlighted. So I'm going to change it to black, but since the text is black, I'm now going to change that to white so you can see it. Now you can change the style of your text. So say you want this to be your title, then you can go over here where it says normal text and a little pop out says styles underneath it so you can always remember what it does, and you can choose what you want. So I'm actually going to make it a heading 1. So what this does is it actually it formats it within. So when you choose a style, it will change the font size and it will also change the spacing, but I'll go over that later. Now that it's a heading, you can actually see it in this menu. So you can see this outline by clicking this button over here, and it says what the heading says. So if I have more than one, I say like heading. Oh, I can't spell today. And I select heading 2, then it will show up underneath it. So if you have a super long document and you want people to be able to quickly go in between different headings, that's a great way to make an outline. Okay, now, all right. So as you can see, my margins were a little bit messed up because I was messing around with Google Docs yesterday. So my margin is all the way to the left over here, and there's 2 margins. There's one on the left and there's one on the right. And so the way you can adjust the margin is by going to this top ruler and by clicking and dragging this line. So you can see it'll have like a number over it, and that will tell you the exact point where it's at. So I can change it to wherever I want, and it will only affect the text that you are clicked onto. So this Cyber Seniors did not change, but this heading did. Okay, so now let's just go over some of these buttons in this top menu. So first we have this undo and the redo. Well, I'm sure you all are familiar with that, so I won't go into that. Obviously, if you make a mistake, undo. If you want to redo, yeah. Next, if you want to print your document, you would see this little icon. There's different ways to do it, and it'll come up later. But this is one way to do it, and you just click print. For me, there's different options that I can choose because it's Google Cloud Print. So yeah. And then next to it, there's a spelling and grammar check. So what that does is it goes through your document and it will find any spelling and grammar mistakes, and it will offer suggestions to fix it. Next, we have this paint format. So what this does is, I'm going to write more text like, hello, how are you? And then like, I'm just going to change this to, okay. So now you can see that these 2 pieces of text are not formatted the same. And if you're like, oh shoot, I really like how, this top one is formatted and I want them both to be like that, this function is actually better for bigger chunks of text. But you can just click on it and the mouse icon will actually change to have a paint roller next to it, and you can highlight the text that you want to do and it will automatically change it. So now they're the same size, same font, everything. Okay. And then, all right, so now we're at Zoom. Zoom is a great function if you can't see the text you're writing in, but you don't want to change the font size because it will mess up your document. You can choose to do fit, which will just fit the screen, which looks like this, and it zooms in a lot. it's automatically going to be set to 100. And you can click this arrow to change. You can also enter in a specific amount in case you want maybe higher than 200 or something like that.
Yeah. Other than that, you can also hit Control or Command and use your mouse to zoom in as well. So you just move your mouse up or down and it will zoom in for you.
Yeah, thank you, Connor. And then, okay, so we already went over styles and font size. Now we're here, and all of these are pretty generic, pretty much the same as if you've used Microsoft Word or anything like that. There's bold, italics, underline, and then we just did text color and highlight. Now we have this. What this icon means is insert link. So say we want to insert the link for Google Docs. If you click it, it'll automatically, what Google Docs does is it looks at the text you've highlighted and the text that you want to put a link on, and it will search up things that may be related to it. So in this case, it automatically found Google Docs' website, and it will put it in. So I'm just gonna, oh, my bad. That actually takes you to the actual website, but I don't want that for now. I'm just gonna click the link, and then you hit apply to make it work. So it looks like this now. All right, now there's this button. So this is one way you can add a comment. You can click this and it'll automatically, wherever your mouse is, it will highlight the word next to it. So in this case, it does seniors. If I was next to hello, it would do hello. And then you can type whatever you want to type. I like to use comments to maybe suggest different words to use. So I could say like, hey, something like that, and I just hit comment. Now if I want to delete the comment, I can hover over the comment and this button will kind of come up in a darker color, if you can see, and I will just hit resolve. And what that does is, what that does is it will pretty much delete the comment, which you can see in a different, if you would like to go back to that comment, you can see it in another place. Okay, now you can insert an image. So this is another way to insert an image. So say I want to insert something like a picture of the Google Docs logo. So the first way I can do it is by uploading it from my computer. So say I had it saved on like my drive or something, and that's one way I would be able to get it. So it just pops up a thing where I can see all the things I have on my computer. The next way I can do it is search the web. So this will pop up something on the side, and this is where I can search for things. So I can be like Google Docs, and then different images will come up. So I like this one. So I'm just gonna click it, and then, hold on. Then it will show up at the bottom and it will say one selected, and you have to click insert for it to go onto your page. And the next way to do it is by doing it from your drive. So if you click drive, it will pop up another thing on the side and will come up with all the photos that you have on your drive. So for art this year, I had to upload photos, so this is one way I could put it on a Google Docs. And then you can also upload a photo from Google Photos, which has, you can store, it's a free service by Google where you can store all of your photos that could be on your phone or computer and other devices. You can also upload an image by URL. So let's say I go into another tab and I search up, it's being really slow, I search up Google Docs. Now I can find the image I like. So let's say I like this one. I'm going to right click, and this little, the like options will show up, and you can say um, copy image address. And then what you can do, go into by URL and just paste that in, and it will automatically show you the photo that you chose, and you can hit insert. So now with the photo, you can see that there is a lot of blank space, which is this transparent, well, it's actually white in this case, but there's other ones that may have a transparent background. If I double click the image, I'm able to crop it and adjust how big it is and crop out some of the bad pieces. And I'll just make it smaller so we don't waste as much space. Okay. And then the last way to do it is by opening up your camera. I'm not going to show that right now because it could mess up the zoom. But that's one last way to do it. Okay. So now we have these four different alignment buttons. So right now these are all aligned to be left aligned. But you can also say you want your heading or your title to be center aligned. You can select or just click in the piece of text that you want to be aligned, and you can click the button and it'll automatically align it. Okay. So, and then same with all of these, they just do what it says. There's justify, right align, center line, left align. Okay, so I mentioned before that the headings have a text, they have automatic text spacing within their format. So what that means is in between lines, they will have different spaces. So if I write, I'm just writing like that, you can see that these have space in between the different lines. So the way to change that is to go up to this icon up here, and it's called line spacing. And when you click on that, different options up here will appear. So right now it says 1.15, which I don't think you can change it since it is a heading. But in between these two, you can say oh, I want it to be double or single, and so forth.
You can also set a custom spacing if needed as well.
Exactly, yes.
In that menu.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Okay, so next, say you want to write the 3 reasons why Google Docs is the best, and you want it to be a numbered list. So you go next to line spacing, and you can click numbered list, and wherever your mouse was, a 1 will appear, and you can write safe or something like that. And when you hit enter, the next number will appear under it. So instead of having to do 1 and then 2, it's a lot easier. Another way you can make a list is by clicking bulleted list, and then obviously a bullet will just appear, and you can write whatever you want. If you want to change how these look, so for example, if you want letters instead of numbers, if you click this down facing arrow, an option menu will appear where you can choose if you want, letters or, Roman numerals, anything like that. Same goes for a bulleted list. Maybe you want stars or arrows, anything like that. Okay, so then we have, so now we have these two buttons. So basically there's decrease indent and increase indent. It basically does exactly what it says. It does the same thing as the tab button. You can increase or decrease. It's basically like adding an indent or deleting one. Okay, so the next thing you can do is clear formatting. So basically what that does, if you're like, oh, I really liked how it was before without any of this, you can click this clear formatting button, and you'll have to make sure that your text that you want to have their format cleared is selected. And so you just click that and it will go back to normal. So it's still a heading 1, but it's no longer this text color is no longer blue, and this is no longer highlighted in black. Okay, so the last thing on this menu is this mode changer. So right now we're in the editing mode, which means we're able to change, and I mean, it's exactly what the title implies. You're editing the Google Docs. And then the next one would be suggesting. So if we go into that, and I use this when we are comparing papers or doing peer reviewing. If we don't want people to mess it up or anything like that, we can go into suggesting mode. And if someone is like, oh, heading should not be capitalized, it should be lowercase, oops, and should be like that, the changes you made will be written out in a comment. And if you come back to your computer and you agree with what they said, then you can click this check, or you can be like, no, this has to be capitalized. You can reject it. So either way, it doesn't actually affect it. It's just a suggestion. And then for viewing, you cannot do anything. You can't comment. You're just basically viewing. Okay. All right, so now I'm going to go through this menu up here. So let's start with File. So the first thing in File is Share. You can also share your document with this button up here. So let's just go from here though and click Share. Oh boy. Okay, so now you can enter in any people or groups that you want to have access to your document using their email or group. The next thing under is New. So this is a great way to, in case you want to create a new document or spreadsheet or anything Google related, you can just do it from here instead of having to go to your Google Drive or something like that. The next thing under is Open. It's similar to the New, except it opens an existing spreadsheet or Google Docs or anything that you choose. The next thing you can do is you can make a copy. So say you want to send this to someone, but you still want to have the original. Basically what this does is it automatically titles a copy of whatever your title was, and then you can save it wherever you want. And then you can also check, you can checkbox if you want to share with the same people or copy comments and suggestions. There's also another one under here, but it's in lighter text because it's not available to me, but it says include resolved comments and suggestions. So let me just cancel that. So that makes a copy. Then under that, you can download your document. So this is where, in case you want it to be a PDF or anything like that, you can hover over the download and you can choose which thing you would want it to be downloaded as. You can also email it to someone. So if I click this, this pop-out will come and it will give me all these spaces where I can put in who I want to send it to. I can change like the subject, the message, and I can choose how it's attached. So if I want it in a PDF or whichever way. So instead of having to download it and then put it into your mail, it's just a little shortcut to make it faster to email it. All right, so say you liked how your document was maybe at the start. You can click version history right here. And another way you can see your version history is to go up to this place up here and it will say all changes saved in Drive, and you can click on it and it will take you to your version history, so you can see who made any changes and anything like that. So if I go to the very bottom, you can see this is my that's what I started with. So let's go back. Another thing that you can do right here is you can name the current version. So in case you want to make some changes to it that maybe you might delete later, you can name your current version and say like, this is the one I like without color if you're adding color later or something like that. You can also rename doing this right here, but it'll basically highlight all of this, all of your text up here, where you can change the name. It's just a little shortcut. Then there's this move right here, and that's the same thing as up here, so I'm not going to go over that because I already did. And then there's an add a shortcut to Drive. So I'm not 100% sure what this does, but I'm pretty sure it just lets you say like if you want to add a shortcut to maybe a different Google Docs that you have, you can do that, but correct me if I'm wrong.
You actually you got it almost on par. So for example, if you're in a team drive or a shared drive, whatever they're called now, or if you have a shared folder with people and that's in Google Drive, what happens is the shortcut can be added so then someone else from another department could view it. So for example, if I have Cyber Senior's presentation for today, I have that document from Macaulay, but I need to share that with, for example, our English linguist group or something. I can easily add a shortcut as long as I'm an editor, or even as a viewing access, and those other people can view that document as well, even though they don't have existing access beforehand.
Perfect, thank you. Okay, and then there is another little shortcut here, which says move to trash. So instead of having to go into your Google Drive to delete this document in case you don't need it or anything like that, you can just do it from within the document. Then you can publish to the web. So what this does is it makes your content visible to anyone, and so you can link or embed your document. So that's what that does. Okay. All right. So now you can do the next one is email collaborators. So this will open up a similar email pop-up. Like the other one that we saw, email as attachment, and it will automatically put the other people who you've shared this with. So in this case, we have Connor up here, and then you can send a message to all these people. So this is super handy if you have a Google Doc that has a lot of people working on it and you don't want to manually do that in your email. Okay, so the next one is document details. So what this tells you is it gives you the details of where it is in your Google Drive. So it's just in my regular drive. It tells you who the owner is, when it was last modified, and when it was created. Okay. All right, so next there's language. So again, I'm not super familiar with this, but I'm pretty sure if you just highlight some text, maybe it will write that. So say you wrote in French and you don't normally write in French, and so your computer might still think that it's in English. You can say that it's in French, and then if someone else is viewing it and they usually speak English, it can be translated, but I'm not totally sure if that's right.
I think it just changes the language that it's recognizing it as. So if it's like you're using grammar check or something or word spelling, it just recognizes that the document is in that language. So it's going to make sure that your spelling is all correct and everything in that language.
Yep, that's correct, Macaulay.
All right, thank you. I'm not super familiar with all of these things, but yes. All right, so next there's page setup. So this is actually, I was messing around with this yesterday, and I accidentally changed it to be like a green color and landscape. So basically what this does is you can either, for this specific page, you can choose, oh, I want it to be landscape and, in like statement size. So basically if you want to print like, maybe a legal sized paper, then that will just choose and make it this right size so that you don't make everything on your page too big or too small. So one way, if you always want your Google Docs to be set up this way, you can click Set as Default. I don't suggest that if you're, messing around with color. Say you just want it to be, have a very light yellow in the background and you just want it to be for this page, you can do that. And all you have to do is click OK, but not set as default, because that will set, every time you create a new document, it will make that the default page setup. And then there's print preview. So if you don't want to click print and go through all the stuff just to see what it would look like printed out, you can click print preview and it will just show you, a little preview of what it looks like if it were to be printed. And if you want to get out of that, you can click close preview. And if you decide, oh yeah, I want to print that, you can just click print right here. Okay, and then there's print again, which is right there. So, all right, so next we're going into edit. All right, so these have a lot of the same functionality. Well, there's undo and redo, which are also right here. And then there's cut. So I'm sure most of you are familiar with cut. It deletes the text you have highlighted and also copies it so then you can paste it later. There's also paste without formatting. I know this is good for if you're in a spreadsheet and you want to paste without formatting and have it work if you have equations and something like that. There's also delete, so instead of using your delete button, you can also select something and hit delete, so I'll just delete that. Say you want to, you didn't know that this paint format was a thing, and you wanted to change the format of all your text, you can click select all, and that will automatically select all your things, and you can choose maybe font size or something like that, so make it, 14. Perfect. All right. Next is find and replace. So this is super handy if you maybe use a word a lot of times, but maybe you accidentally forgot to uppercase it or something like that. So let's use apple. Oh, it's going to automatically change it to uppercase.
Because it's a company.
Yep. Oh boy. Okay, well,
speaking of that, can you go into spell check shortcuts where it automatically switches words? I don't know if you remember how to get to that. So it's in Tools, and then you go to Preferences. It automatically changes your words. It's in Substitutions.
Oh.
And then these are all the substitutions that it does for everything.
Oh wow.
So if you click the button where you say always select it, then you have to go in here to stop it from doing it.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I didn't even know that was a thing. Okay. So back to find and replace. So let's say you're like, oh shoot, Apple needs to be uppercase because I'm talking about the company. You can go to find and replace. And in this case, we're talking about the actual case of it. So you're gonna want to check match case, because otherwise let's just add in uppercase Apple. Oh, well, there it goes. If you want to find Apple and it doesn't match case, it will automatically find the uppercase ones too. So you don't want to have that selected because it's already the way you want it. So then you can click, and then you enter in what you want it to replace it with. And you can either do replace, which does the one that you're on, or you can hit replace all, which does them all at once, which is most likely what you would want to do. All right, let's go into view. Oops, okay. All right, so print layout, we already looked at this. Wait. Oh, right, so print layout means if you are going to print it, it will print the exact layout that you have, including margins and stuff like that. You can choose your mode from here as well if you forget where it is over here. You can decide if you want to show the ruler or not. The ruler is where I showed you can change your margins. So I always like to have my ruler up. And then you can show document outline. So if I unclick that and re-click, the outline is what I mentioned before. It shows you all your headers and lets you switch in between them easily. Then you can show equation toolbar. So this basically pops up the toolbar for making a new equation. So I'll just briefly go over this. I used this year because obviously school was canceled, well, not canceled, but shut down, and so I had to use this for math. So you do new equation, and there's all these different symbols that you can use that aren't on your keyboard or whatever. And if you want to close this, you can just go to the right and click this X. You can also show section breaks. So we don't have any, but if you have that selected, it would show them. And then you can also select full screen. So this basically makes it so all the controls are hidden. So I'm just going to get out of this. Okay. Perfect. Now we're on to insert. So we already went over image because it was over here. Now there's table. So in order to put a table into your Google Docs, you're going to have to choose, you're going to have to choose the size of it. So if you want it to be, a 3x3 or any kind of size, it goes up to 20 both ways. So that's the biggest you can make it. So that would fit on the screen. So let's say we want it to be 3x3, and so it'll automatically pop up and you can enter in like whatever you want into each of these places. Next you can insert a drawing. So say you want to have a drawing of a cat in here, then you can go, because you're not able to draw with shapes directly in a Google Doc, so you would have to do this in a Google Drawing. And so you can choose this an already made one, because you could say from drive, and it will open up your drive where you can choose one, or you can make your own right now. You can also insert a chart. So I'm just going to start from the bottom. You can choose a chart that you've already made from your sheets, or you can create one right now. And so if you choose one from your sheets, you can, this is from my science fair. You can also do a horizontal line, which does exactly what it says, puts in a line. You can enter in a footnote, and it will just put the one wherever your mouse was, and so forth. You can enter in special characters. So if you're doing an E with an accent, if you're speaking in French, you can draw it or write in E to insert that. You can also enter an equation, which we already went over. This is just another way to do it, which will pop up the toolbar. Headers and footers. You can choose which one you want to do and enter in a header, as well as a footer. Then you can also choose to do page numbers. You can choose where on the page you would want it to be, so maybe if you want to wait a page or whatever. You can also insert a page break. So wherever you are, it will just push everything onto the next page, depending on which one you choose. There's next page and then there's continuous. This is another place where you can insert a link and a comment, and then you can also bookmark things, which we'll just put a bookmark next to the word that you are next to. And then there's a table of contents. So you can either have a table of contents with numbers or without numbers and with blue links. which will take you, this one takes you to the page, well, it doesn't take you, it will give you page numbers, and this one will bring you to the exact page if you click on the link. Okay, so in format, we already went over text. These are different things you can do to your text. These are paragraph styles that we already went over that are right here. There's just a few more in here. Align and indent, again, we already went over these. Line spacing. Columns are great if you want to make a newspaper looking sort of page. And then bullets and numbering we already went over. Same with that. All right, so that's it for format. Next in tools, spelling and grammar, again, we already went over. Word count, you would have to either select the words that you want to count, or it can tell you what the word count is for the whole document. And then you can review suggested edits, which maybe you're in editing mode, suggested edits is basically from your computer, and it will tell you what it thinks for you to do. You can also compare documents, which is a new one. Oh, that's not what I meant to do. So you can, compare documents, so it will have you choose which document you would like to compare it to, and it will figure out maybe some similarities and differences in between the two. So I'm not going to do that for time concerns. And then you can go and explore. You can search for websites, images, things. It will find things out of your text that it will look for, and it will pop up with images. So we have Apple, and then cyber seniors and stuff like that. And then we have linked objects. So when inserting a graph, you can maybe choose to link it to the spreadsheet, but I didn't. So I have no linked objects, but this is where you would find them. Let's see. Then you can go to the dictionary. So maybe you use a word but not totally sure if you used it in the right way. This is a great way to check instead of having to open up another tab. You can translate a document. It will create a whole new document in whatever language you choose. You can go to script editor, which is basically the coding platform for it. You can access preferences from here, which is we already kind of went over with Connor. These are things that your computer automatically substitutes, and then here are some general things that are checked in my case. Then there's accessibility settings. So these are great for maybe if you're having trouble reading some things on the screen. This is great to use, etc. with the other things. And there's activity dashboard. It basically shows you what activity there was. So, it'll just go over what activity took place.
Just mention what's in the help section. We'll go through it. So this is great. I'd point out in here for help, Docs, help, and training. Those are both sections in which you can find basically all the functions of everything in Google Docs. So those are really helpful. And keyboard shortcuts are great because they show you what the shortcuts are for every single function in here. So say it's redo, undo, you can find out what all those shortcuts are in there. So that's a really helpful section